when you receive the standard bike holder with a shelf, it will come packed something like this. You will have, if you've bought the cleat holder version, you will have the 2 3D printed cleat holder parts, a bag full of components, the 2 side braces, a back plate, and again, if you have the cleat holder version, you will have these little half moon crescent cuts in them, and your top shelf. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have all of the components. So empty out the bag. You should have 2 foam strips. These are to protect the bike frame when you're hanging the bike on the hooks. They're optional, you don't have to fit them. There should be 8 4mm BZP screws. There should be 8 barrel nuts. 1 4mm Allen key, 3 70mm gold screws, and 3 rule plugs. First thing to note, if you're screwing into a stud frame wall that's covered in plasterboard, or just a stud wall, then you only need 2 gold screws, nothing else. If you're screwing into masonry, then you use the 3 rule plugs and the 3 screws. Looking at the bike holder, this is the top, this is the bottom of the back plate. When you screw it into the wall, you will use the middle 2 holes for a stud wall in line with a stud, and they must screw into a stud in a stud wall. You can't just hang these on plasterboard. If you're fixing this to masonry, you use these 3 holes here, these 3 screws, and these 3 rule plugs. You will have to pre-drill the holes with a 7mm masonry bit and hammer these in nice and deep. Now then, assembling the bike holder. Put the shelf and the back plate to one side, and you take the barrel nuts, move everything else out of the way. Each one of these barrel nuts has a line on it. That line must line up with the opening so they all face out. Now these do just drop in, but sometimes these holes are a little bit tight and you might need to force them in with a hammer or with anything that can generate a bit of pressure. Now, if you look closely, you can see that the lines all line up with the openings. Do that for both parts. Now then, I'm going to fit the shelf first. You'll notice that there's these indentations that are for the BZP screws. They go on the outside, not on the inside. So I'll flip this way round. You'll notice that the hole is closer to this side and further away from that side. That means that goes this side here. So you lift that round and then you get your BZP screw there. If I turn this around so you can see, and then put the screw through and give it a couple of turns so that it bites. Now to make this easier, I pull this to the edge of the table and then I can turn the Allen key. The reason I keep it laying on the edge of the table is so that it all stays flush. What I mean by flush, if I just screw this in and then show you, this is the same height as that. If I screw it any other way, if I hold it like this and hold it in, there's a chance that this will move off of that line. So I want these nice and flush together. So if I keep them laying on the table, that keeps them nice and flush. Have a BZP screw in there, pull it to the edge, the table, start tightening it. That's that. Now I'm going to take this back plate here, and remember these face down. I'll just turn it to this side. If you've bought the standard bike holder, you won't have these half crescents and you won't have these routed out parts in the back here. The 3 holes go to the top. So if I turn the bike holder around so you can see it, that means that the back plate goes like that with the 3 holes to the top there. And now we're going to do the same again. BZP screw in, I turn it around to show you. That's the screws in. They go into the indentations. Drag the item to the edge of the table and screw them in. Now then, if I bring this over, put that in frame, I don't want to flip this over because the barrel nuts will fall out. So I'm going to flip the bike holder over like so, and then put the screws in. Remembering to keep it on the table to keep it nice and flush. Now, even if you're not a DIY person, you should be able to put one of these bike holders together in about 5 minutes. They're really not difficult. Now, I'm just going to show you how that... It's only that last little bit, so you want to pinch it nice and tight. This does not want to be loose, and when you tighten all of these screws in, they need to be flush. Excellent. Now that is all screwed together. If you did buy the cleat holder version, you turn it around, you get your piece of plastic, and the hook on this piece of plastic, you can see there, faces the front, which is that way. So this slots over like that. You can see that the rough face is at the back. Again, I'll take this cleat holder and slot it in there, and it fits in nice and snug. If I turn that around, you can see that that's what the bike holder looks like with the cleat holders in it. Now I'm going to show you how to screw this into the wall. Okay, so I've already got some holes in the wall because I've done lots of demonstrations, but I'll still use the wall to describe what's going to happen. This is a stud frame wall, so in the UK, every 400 millimeters, there will be a stud in the wall, a wooden stud. The bike holder must be fitted to a wooden stud, and there's lots of different ways that you can find the stud behind the wall. Some people use magnets, some people drill lots of little holes until they find it, some people tap. You'll notice a clear sound change. As I come to where these holes are, you can tell this part of the wall's hollow, this is hollow, that's not. If you're not sure about this, get a professional to do it, or get someone that knows what they're doing. In a plasterboard wall, you do not use the blue rule plugs. You only use that if it's a fully solid brick wall or a concrete wall. So you can forget about these and only use 2 of these if it's a stud wall. And literally all you need to do is put the bike holder up on the wall exactly in the place you want it, as long as the two centre holes are in line with the stud. Put your screw in, get a drill. Well, that's not a drill, that's an impact driver. It's one screw. Now, when you've got one screw in, this is the point where you want to level it. So you want to get a level, put it on the top, and check that it is perfectly level and where you want it. Like so. And then you put screw number 2 in. And that is fixed to the wall and ready to hang your bike. If you have bought the version with the cleat holders, this is how you use them. You've got a hook here that hooks underneath this part of your cleat. Forgive these messy bike shoes, but I do cycle a lot and they've become a bit worn down. This half crescent shape that's routed into the wood is what hooks, this part of the cleat hooks underneath there. So if I just aim that in and let go, and you can see that's in nice and solid, I can pull that and hit it and it's not going to come off. If I want to pull it away, you can hear a little click as I pull it away. That's the thing releasing. Now remember, when you take your cleats off on your bike, you turn your foot slightly to the side. So when you take these off, just turn it slightly to the side and they'll come off nicely. If you lift it up slightly before you pull it as well, it will come off without even clicking. Oops. So if you lift it up and then pull away and down,